conditions. Weeknights beginning tonight on the Weather Channel.
Well, welcome back to your weather today. I'm meteorologist Heather Tesh, and right now thunderstorms continue to spin cobwebs of lightning across the skies from Indiana to Michigan at this hour. It is a stormy start to the new week and the new month of October. We'll outline the main threats and tell you about the new warning system that goes into effect today.
Meteorologist Marshall Thies in Hurricane Central. A disturbance over the Bahamas continues to funnel in very heavy rains, strong winds too in South Florida and Florida's east coast. I'll tell you its potential for tropical trouble as it drifts into the Gulf of Mexico. Good morning and thanks for joining us for your weather today. I'm Marshall Thies.
And I'm Heather Tesh. And of course, Marshall, we begin this morning with the storms, the rain that is sweeping across the Midwest. It will be a rough go for some of you as you're heading out to work. Maybe you're running some errands today, trying to get a few things done, taking the kids to school. And with that, you'll find that Michigan is one of the hardest hit areas, but we also have some rain that's kind of wrapping around on the backside of this, keeping us very unsettled across parts of Wisconsin, especially eastern Wisconsin. Milwaukee, you've been finding some of this action as you're doing some traveling around this area. Madison, Janesville's had from time to time some areas of rain. We're also finding more significant and heavier rain that has been sweeping across Michigan this morning and also stretching down into Indiana, now just starting to head into Ohio. So Toledo, you'll see some of this eventually coming in, but also travel on 69. You'll find some slowdowns as the system continues to work in that direction, sending some heavier amounts of rain to come through here. We've been seeing too across Little Rock and then southward into Arkansas that it's been a little bit rough this morning with this line of storms. It's had a lot of frequent lightning, and also we've been looking at some heavier downpours coming in with this. This is associated with the frontal system, so the northern end bringing in the Midwest storms and the southern end of our front bringing some of these storms across this region, and we'll follow this front as it spreads eastward. Michigan, again, today is the day that you're going to be threatened by the wet weather. Grand Rapids, we've already been seeing the wet weather. Detroit will be pushing in your direction as we go through the day, and we are again concerned about that threat for severe weather today. Now, I want to talk about warnings. Now, these are not actual warnings that are out here right now. This is an example of some of the past warnings, what we used to have up until today. In the past, we've always notified you by county in terms of severe weather warnings. This is from the National Weather Service. But, you know, the problems with this, the disadvantages, is parts of the counties were unnecessarily warned. It wasn't affecting some areas, but you're still in the warned area. And the storm threats, you know, a lot of times they're not limited to those borders, those man-made borders. So now there's a new system that's out here, and this is what we're using from this point on. And what you're going to find is it's more of a polygon, and it'll be in the region of where the storm is or where the severe weather is heading. You know, only those that are directly threatened now are going to be warned. Also, it's going to focus on the true threat areas rather than looking at the county where sometimes you may be outside of the actual storm, but still you're told to take cover because it's headed in your direction. So this should be a little bit more exact, and we could really start to get a good use out of this as we go from today into tomorrow. Now, today we do have this front that's bringing some of this wet weather to the Great Lakes, but tomorrow's the bigger day in terms of the severe threat for us, and we'll be watching areas from Oklahoma right into southern Iowa for the threat of severe weather, 29 included. You'll find that this is an area that we could be looking at more of these polygons starting to show up. Let's talk a little bit more about some other concerns out here, and one of those is coastal concerns.
Yeah, you bet, Heather. I tell you, the state of Florida under siege. Take a look at this picture. The rough surf off Florida this weekend contributed to that scene. This is in Marineland, where a 40-foot boat ran out of gas. It's just to the south of St. Augustine, Florida. The boat was carried onto the rocks, as you see here. Now, remember, when you capture unusual weather events, send them to us. Send them to Weather Warriors at weather.com. We'll put them on the air for you. There's been some flooding concerns over extreme South Florida this morning. Rainfall rates 1 to 2 inches per hour in the southern part of the state. Picked up over 2 inches of rain in Miami yesterday and into the day before. In fact, Miami's gotten rain about every single day now for the last 9 or 10 days. Now, this rain is becoming lighter from Miami westward. But we still have marine advisories in effect, and that's along the Keys or on the road out to the Keys to the west end of the 7 Mile Bridge. That's where those advisories are in effect. Small craft advisories in effect as well. This big high pressure to the north and this low pressure to the south, the pressure gradient between the two of those indicating the strong winds. In fact, at Homestead this morning, they've been gusting to 40 miles per hour, the winds out of the northeast, and they're sustained anywhere from 20 to 30 miles per hour. So there are coastal concerns for flooding and erosion, rip current threat very high as well along the east coast of Florida. In Orlando and Tampa, you'll get in the act maybe later today into tomorrow as we get some movement from this upper level low that'll track westward. So it tracks into the Gulf. There's concern that it could be maybe a surface reflection, and that could mean something tropical in nature. Let's take a look at the northeast. Heather, how's that looking?
Well, as we look to the northeast, we are going to find high pressure in charge across this area. You know, Washington, D.C. is one of the places where we'll have high pressure in charge, and that'll bring us some fairly nice weather to the region. Look for conditions today to be sunny with a high of around 78. New York, 70 degrees. Very similar conditions as we go through our Tuesday. Same with Boston. So all these places pretty much holding tight in terms of what we have today and what we will find around tomorrow. So, Marshall, this is one place that's high, really holding off some of those storms from coming in this direction.
I know the high pressure can aid and abet fog, too, and we're starting out with some fog from Victoria, Texas, West Virginia, and the northeast. We'll have more details about that.
This program was brought to you by Jell-O brand products. Every diet needs a little wiggle room.
You need an invite to the soiree, but anyone at any time can wiggle. Decadent taste, 60 calories, sugar-free Jell-O pudding cups.